The area where I grew up in was well known for mining. And so I grew up running around in the hills and we literally didn't have any trees. It was a moonscape, and I think in the early 70s, NASA actually came to do some training for lunar landings. And I remember first coming out here and seeing the mountains for the first time and seeing the ocean. I just had this really incredible feeling. I knew it was a special place at that time, and I've been here ever since. Howe Sound runs right along the Sea to Sky Highway. But the common sentiment when we take people out on the Sound is like, wow, I can't believe how beautiful it is out here. So many people are used to having the perspective of either being in their cars or on mountain bikes or being on the land looking to the ocean, but haven't had that experience of looking from the ocean back to the land. And it's absolutely amazing from the water. A lot of times what I do when I paddle in areas is actually think about what it was like prior to humans being there, prior to, maybe not humans, but prior to industry being there. And so I think a lot about from the First Nations perspective on what it was like, 300, 400, 500 years ago. And it must have just been absolutely spectacular, just beautiful with the granite walls and at the head of this beautiful fjord is a volcano. So it's a very dynamic place. I think it's just one of those bodies of water that holds magic. When I first started paddleboarding about 10 years ago, I guess, I just thought it was sort of like the perfect tool for connecting with our coastline, exploring our coastline. Generally, it's a slow moving experience, so you really have the time to look around. I think it's an amazing way to actually experience the environment. My grandfather had built a cabin on a river outside of town that had an environment that was still intact. And we'd spend the summers swimming and fishing. And that's where I think I really got my love for the outdoors. I think it provided that real contrast from what I grew up in to coming out here and really seeing what the wilderness was like. I've always believed that you have to feel a place to really understand a place. There's nothing like the feeling of being in a temperate ancient rainforest or being on the ocean or spending time in the mountains. And if we've got the ability to do that, then we're going to have these experiences and we're going to have these feelings that are imprinted on us. And that if something is at risk in those areas that you love so much, that you've connected to, that you've brought people to, maybe your family, your friends, a lot of people are willing to stand up, I think, to look after not only the place, but also to protect the feelings that we have in those places. Howe Sound was a place that had been hugely impacted by industry. I remember reading about Britannia Beach. They had a mine there, and there was a lot of leaching of the hard metals into Howe Sound, and I remember reading that it was one of the most polluted shorelines in North America. It was actually declared almost a dead zone. They did a cleanup, a water treatment facility plant in Britannia, and really captured a lot of that hard water that was going in. And so it really didn't take long until you started to see Howe Sound coming back. Every time I see wildlife coming back, when I see a school of herring, when I see the eagles flying overhead, when I see the killer whales coming in or bears down on the shoreline, it's just really, really hopeful. An apex predator speaks a lot to the health of an ecosystem. So if you have grizzly bears, killer whales, you know that that ecosystem is fairly healthy, or at least coming back to health. To have these killer whales traveling the length of the sound and coming right into the Squamish Harbor, right into the river, it inspires a lot of different feelings actually in me. I'm always anticipating and I'm always hopeful that every time I come out on the Howe Sound to paddle that I'm going to have you know, a new experience. And so paddling with those transient killer whales for me was a new experience, and it sort of lit my heart up because it let me know that you're coming back into a healthier ecosystem. The place that I paddled is coming back.